Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, every dog has its day, and today's dog is Hotel Mario. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. I mean, how can you not be enjoying the 90-degree days of August, October even?
October, yeah, it plays tricks on your brain. It's hot in Los Angeles. Look, we're not giving you a proper weather report because we retired that segment years ago. But Mark, I did want to wish you a happy 401st episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. 401.
And like a bottle of wine, we are only getting better with age.
This is something that I believe to be true, that this show is only getting tighter and what's better, more meandering or less meandering?
Really, depending on the day, it could be either, but I just invite everybody to soak in it because 401, baby.
401, baby. Also, we were reminiscing before we started recording that this is 7 months recording these things remotely, which is also a trip. So thank you for being part of this trip with us. It's all very strange, but I'm glad that we have this show to do in these times. Mark, speaking of dark things and dark times, my copy of Sonic Forces, sort of. Do you want to borrow it? Look, we don't know where it is. We don't know where the game is right now. It got lost in the mail, pushed out of the envelope that was carrying it. But if you would like to someday possibly borrow my copy of either that game or something else, if you want to be a part of a perfect borrowing program, you need to email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address, which I guess is still part of this. You'll be on the list.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect program, so just don't question it that much. I promise nothing bad will happen to you unless you consider Sonic Forces being sent to your home bad, because that is the worst possible thing that could come out of this program. Other than that, it's all uphill.
Yeah, that's right. Totally all uphill. We pay for any part of whatever happens here, so don't worry about it. This will continue to cost you nothing.
Yeah, I mean, those are the important points, right? Cost you nothing. It's a perfect program. Just send us an email with your address, and you're on the list for something.
It's tough when we don't have a thing to offer and we're just saying, hey, people, send us your address. It's starting to sound like it's not a good program.
But that is not true. It's, of course, a perfect program.
It's a perfect program.
Maybe we will start, and I haven't run this by Patrick, I'm just throwing it out there, but maybe we'll just start sending people letters or drawings that we make.
Yeah, maybe. And again, they won't be weird or bad or anything. Only good stuff.
Yeah, you can trust them.
Speaking of only good stuff, and this doesn't have to be only good, but we are doing an episode full of your Mario memories at the end of the month. Obviously, we are in the midst of Mario month right now, but on the 29th, we will be recording an episode with my Mario memories, Mark's Mario memories, and all of your Mario memories. If you would like to add your memories to that pile, you should email us by October 27th at the very latest. That is Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And this can be anything. Any kind of memory and any kind of way you want to express it, send it to us. We want your memories. And we're not going to suck them out of your head like some kind of weird memory robot. You'll have to type them up or something.
Do you think, the torture robot in Star Wars, in A New Hope, the little orb thing with the two enormous syringes sticking out of it? Do you think that that's what its job is to suck out memories? Is that a bad memory droid?
I would say no. I think it's just torture. I don't think it has any function beyond inflicting pain.
And it seems like the only pain that it's set up to inflict is poking you with syringes, right?
Who wants to be poked with syringes?
I mean, nobody. But I'm saying that's limiting. Why get a droid for that? It just seems like a stormtrooper could just as easily, poke somebody with a syringe.
I like to believe that those syringes are also electrified in some way, so it can shock you.
It's weird they don't do that for flu shots.
Speaking of flu shots and the public good, these transitions are all on fire today, by the way. The election is upon us, so please make sure we've talked about this on multiple episodes now, but it bears repeating. Make sure that you are registered to vote, that you are prepared to vote, that you have a plan to do it. And in a lot of places, you can do it right now. I have already sent in my vote. My ballot. I dropped it in a ballot box here in California, just in front of the public library near my house. And I had signed up with Ballot Tracker, which tells me that my ballot has been collected and will be counted. So these are all things that you can do. And you have different resources depending on what state you live in. But just make sure you know what all of those are and that you have a plan and that you are ready to vote and that you're ready to vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Because that is a thing that needs to happen. There are also tons of other elections that you can vote in that are more relevant to your state, your town, your county. So make sure that you are clued into what all of those are and what and who you're voting for. Mark, you dropped off your ballot recently, yes?
Yep, I did. And I'm all about voting early. So the earlier you can vote, get out and do it.
I saw that the New York Times has an article that is just shows graphically all of the states different, when they start counting ballots, when they start counting mail-in ballots, when they need to be counted by, when they have, and it's every state is different because we've got 50 of these stupid things. But anyway, it's all a mess. Figure out how to navigate your way through this mess, and we can help each other get through the mess, right?
Right.
Okay, and then back into the realm of Nintendo, we got a question on Twitter from @SilvergrassMoon. Thank you, @SilvergrassMoon, for writing in. @SilvergrassMoon writes, "What would you name the new Switch? I think it's time to bring back the super branding." So this is referring to the sort of persistent rumors that there is a new version of the Switch that is likely to maybe start going into production at the end of the fiscal year. So March or April or something along those lines. Mark, what do you think? You think Super Switch is the way to go on that one?
I really like the super branding. My deep in my heart, I really love the Super Nintendo. I am hesitant for the branding for the abbreviation for it to be SS. I'm not wild about that idea.
Right.
And so I would say no for that reason alone, because otherwise I think the Super Switch is fun to say.
Super Switch is super fun to say. I've gone on record on this podcast multiple times saying that they will never sell you a Switch Pro, that is 100% will not be the branding. And because I'm taking such a strong stance on it, I am semi-convinced that they will call it that. But what about advanced? What about Switch Advanced?
That would be fun. I like that a lot. I mean, I'm worried, not really worried. It doesn't keep me up too much at night that they're just going to call it the new Nintendo Switch, new Nintendo 3DS. But Nintendo Switch Advanced, I am into it. I love that. Make it purple, make it see-through. Do it.
Or if the new version of it has two screens and it has a clamshell feature, then it would be the dual Switch. It'll be the return of the DS.
That'd be pretty amazing.
So yeah, I guess what it boils down to is we don't know. I think Advance is the way to go.
I like that a lot.
It's so clear.
It's so
and then
classy.
You could also, it's so classy, and then you could launch it with the GBA library as well as yeah.
Now I'm gonna be sad when that doesn't happen.
Me too, Mark. All right. Well, let's get into our main topic of the day. It's a doozy. We are determining the best Mario spin-off of all time. So, Mark, this is we will frequently set ourselves nearly impossible tasks, but I fear that we may have genuinely given ourselves an impossible task today. Are you worried with what we have set before ourselves?
I agree with you that this is a challenging task, but I have faith in us. I have faith in that we will find our way through it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. That reassures me. I feel a little bit better. Listener, I hope that you too can take a little like solace here and know that at least Mark feels that we will see our way
Yeah,
clear to the end here.
if you hit the play button with apprehension, know that
Yeah.
at least I feel confident in our ability to pull this off.
Right. I don't know from my end. So, okay, we're talking Mario spin-offs, which means it's got to have Mario in it, right? It has to probably feature other Mario characters, but isn't going to be a mainline Mario game. And Mario is so interesting in that like even within the main line there are like different kind of forks and like all the new Super Mario Brothers games are sort of their own branch in that path. But I think that's all mainline stuff, right? Like all the 3D, all the 2D, all the 2.5D, and all the new games. Those are all just mainline Super Mario Brothers, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think what we're talking are like the puzzle games like Dr. Mario, the role playing games, sports games, Mario Party, like that sort of thing. Um so immediately off the bat, I think we
Yeah.
can uh eliminate anything from consideration that is a game in like another franchise then Mario shows up in. So if Mario is like a
Hmm.
guest character in like Skylander Superchargers, for example, or Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix, I think those do not count because they are not spin-offs of like the Mario franchise. They're just guest appearances.
Yeah, I think that is fair, and I think not that we've even got these like sort of in the running, but like with the exception of Tetris, Mario is in all of the Game Boy launch games, right? Like he's the pilot of the ship in Arkanoid. He is the like tennis coach or the ref, I guess. Like he's in all of those games. So we're not counting those like one-off appearances. He's in Punch Out like as the
Ref.
I guess referee again. Why is that word not it doesn't the word referee doesn't pass freely through my head for some reason. So yeah, I think that's fair. Mark, I see that you gathered NBA Street Volume 3, SSX Tricky Tour, and some others. But I agree with you. We should toss them out. They are not in the running for best Mario spin-off.
So where it gets tricky is
Yes.
what do we do? I mean, I think there's a number of things we're gonna have to address. Like, the looming elephants in the room are like Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers. But I think
Yeah.
before we get there, it's like, what do we do with these franchises that spun out of Mario and are kind of almost their own entity, like the Yoshi franchise or Wario games, like WarioWare or even Wario Land, because one of those like
Yeah.
it started as a Mario game. It was like a backdoor pilot, right? It's like when
Yes. But I
uh
mean, is that not the truest spin-off?
right,
Right? Like
totally.
that's Mork from Ork appeared on an episode of Happy Days, and that was the backdoor pilot from Mork and Mindy. So like, does Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land count as a Mario spin-off? Like I don't know, maybe.
I don't know either. And I think some of this is just gonna, I mean, all of it, because you and I are the only people who are making this
Yes.
decision. But I think some of it's just gonna come down to like our own judgment, because like for whatever reason, like the Yoshi series is in the same boat.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm
Yeah,
more,
literally the same boat,
but I'm
right? Cuz
yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah.
because Super
Although
Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, and then Yoshi became its own like spin-off. But like I guess one that doesn't really fall into that is Luigi's Mansion, which like that was always its own franchise that just like Mario features in.
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's tough because there are also just like some of these that are such pillars of the Nintendo library at this point, and now I'm sort of steering us into talking about Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers, which I think you could make a pretty clear case for like, well, Mario Kart 8 or Smash Ultimate are the best games on this list, period. So why wouldn't one of those be the best spinoff? those two in particular almost feel like they are um, so standalone that they can no longer be considered spin-offs, right? Like they are both big enough and influential enough that they could spawn their own spin-offs and it wouldn't like lessen their brand at all.
Yeah, I mean they are also bigger than the Mario series at this point. Like they sell way more copies. You know, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has sold way more copies than Super
Yeah,
Mario Odyssey. But um okay, I think before we start like litigating it, let's run down the list of games that we
great.
are considering.
And it's a pretty good list. I going down this list. I'm like, oh, these are a lot of games that I like. Sometimes we're just going to say like a name of an individual game, or like sometimes it's a franchise. Let's go back and forth. Dr. Mario is the first one on the list.
Mario's Picross.
Mario Kart,
And then we get into the role playing games like Super Mario RPG,
Paper Mario,
Mario and Luigi,
and then outside of the role playing games now, Paper Mario. Or sorry, I don't. I saw words on the page that weren't Paper Mario, and I said Paper Mario. Mario Party,
and then all the sports games, which are kind of like their own franchises. And some of these have like multiple entries. Some of them are just one-offs, but like Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Baseball, Mario Strikers, Mario Hoops 3-on-3, and Mario Sports Mix.
and then there's the Mario versus Donkey Kong series, which also includes the sort of minis spin-offs within that. Which I guess it's really just the one Mario versus Donkey Kong game before it moves into minis.
And we have educational games on here like Mario Teaches Typing, Mario is Missing, and Mario's Early Years, which is actually I think like 3 separate games. I do wonder if we can disqualify these just kind of for our own. I mean, these are obviously are not going to be the best.
Yeah.
And so I think, so that's one strike against it. But also, I think they weren't developed by Nintendo; they were licensed, and so I think that's another reason that we can easily just say the educational games are not. We're not going to give any more consideration to.
I mean, also consider the following. Have you played any of those games?
And that is a really compelling point, Patrick.
I have not either, so we are eliminating them entirely. Next is Mario Paint.
Super Mario, or no, Mario Pinball Land,
Super Mario Maker,
Super Mario Run,
Luigi's Mansion,
Super Princess Peach,
Captain Toad Treasure Tracker,
the Yoshi games, the Yoshi franchise,
Yoshi's Cookie,
which I separated. I don't really know how, like, because it is its own thing, like, that isn't those Yoshi platform games. But anyway, so yeah, Yoshi's Cookie exists.
There's also a Tetris Attack clone, I think, just called Yoshi.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's a little bit different. But so the Yoshi franchise, Yoshi, and Yoshi's Cookie are all different items on this list.
Next, we have Wario Land.
And then we've got WarioWare.
And then Wario's Woods. Again,
And
just put it on there for
yeah.
fairness because we put the Yoshi ones on there.
And it is more of a Toad game than it is a Wario game anyway. Super Smash Brothers.
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle concludes the list. Mark, so there are a number of sort of just like falling block puzzle games on here. And I wonder if we can like sort of pull those aside and just determine what the best one of those is, and then, eliminate the rest of them from contention right now. Not saying that the best falling block Mario puzzle game is going to be the best Mario game, but it surely has a better likelihood of getting there than the worst of them, right?
Yeah.
Or even the second best of them.
Yep.
So that means that we are talking about Wario's Woods. It means that we are talking about Yoshi's Cookie. It means that we are talking about the original just Yoshi falling block puzzle game. And again, I don't think they fall. I think they come up from the bottom of the screen. I have only foggy memories of that. And then we are also talking about Dr. Mario. Is that it?
I think that's it.
Should we throw Mario's Picross in that mix too? It's not quite the same, but it's just a like puzzle game with Mario.
Sure.
Okay. So from that list of Dr. Mario, Mario's Picross, Yoshi, Yoshi's Cookie, and Wario's Woods, which is the best Mario puzzle game?
I feel like this is easily Dr. Mario's to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the contender would be. Perhaps Mario Picross, but that's also something that like we don't really have that much experience with. I'm playing it on the Super NES Switch Online right now, and I'm enjoying it. But like I've lost days to Dr. Mario. It's a great game and a super fun franchise that they're able to like continually iterate on. If they were to do a Dr. Mario 99 for the Switch Online, in the vein of Tetris 99, I would never stop playing
That'd
that
be
game.
fun. That would be fun. Yeah, I feel like with like Mario's Picross, it's cool that it exists now and that we have access to it outside of Japan. But the fact that it didn't, like, I didn't even know it existed until like 2 or 3 weeks ago is, major knock against it. I think it has to
So,
be
but there,
Dr. Mario.
I mean, I agree with you. It is it's got to be Dr. Mario. So I'll eliminate the others while I make this point. But there is a Mario Picross on Game Boy that was in the States.
Okay.
So it did exist in here in some other capacity. I wonder why they're not like any more Mario Picross like branded as Mario anymore. Like why not keep that up?
Yeah. Although I guess really I feel like they don't do Picross games that often. Um the Legend of Zelda, like was there like a Twilight Princess one is the one that feels like it was the most recent?
Yeah, the Twilight Princess one on the 3DS, which you couldn't buy, you can only get it with platinum points on the 3DS eShop. And then there was also the Pokemon one, also on the 3DS. So that's not that long ago. Come on, guys! Like, make more branded Picross games. I guess they've released 4 Picross games on Switch already, so like they're fine. They're we got Picross, I guess. Okay, so that's good. We've narrowed down one category of Mario spinoff. Do you want to go into sports games next? I feel like that's the next like logical place where we can start like hacking off um, the sort of the wheat from the chaff here.
Yes. So the thing for me when we're talking about the sports games is that I don't really have much attachment to any of these franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Um so we can do the work to like narrow down and say like this is our the best representative of the sports games, but for me, for my money, like it's not a real contender, and so
Yeah,
I don't know that it's worth it.
that they're all gonna go.
Yeah.
And so we're talking Mario Sports Mix, Mario Hoops 3-on-3, Mario Strikers, which is the soccer game, Mario Baseball, Mario Golf, and Mario Tennis. So I'll agree with you that like none of these are going to make it to um, our best Mario spinoff. Like it's just they just aren't. But I do want to give like a little bit of a shout out to the tennis and golf series. The tennis games for me are games that I have liked a lot. The Virtual Boy tennis game was super fun, and I actually really liked Mario Tennis Aces on the Switch, recognizing its many flaws. But like the weekend that I had playing that campaign mode was super frustrating, but very fun. So like that's a good game, and I know that there are other games in that series that are held up, especially the one that Camelot made that has like more RPG elements on the GBA, I believe. And then also that Mario Golf has a similar sort of reputation. And like I'm never really able to get into golf games, but if they were to put out a new Mario Golf on Switch, I would absolutely, pick it up to check it out and like sort of participate in the social media conversation around that. Mark, you've got no soft spot for any of the other sports games.
No, fare thee well, sports games.
Goodbye, sports games. Should we, as long as we're on the topic of sports games, also go down to Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games?
Yes, I think this is notable just because it was Mario and Sonic in a game together, which is wild. I would love to know the genesis of this entire project because it's like, okay, it's going to be Mario and Sonic, but the reason we're doing it is for this like Olympic game tie-in.
Yeah.
Like how did that come about?
That's a really good question because they're developed by Sega, right?
I think so. Although
So that's interesting.
it feels like they should be developed by a neutral third party out of fairness.
Yeah, and then both Nintendo and Sega can visit, but they both have to talk through their lawyers.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess so. What I was driving at there is, I would guess that it was originally a Sega. You know, they were developing another like Sonic and Friends at the Olympic Games, and we're going to like make it for a Nintendo platform. And Nintendo was like, "Why not put the Mario characters in there?" And they were like, "What? This will sell like 1,000,000 times more." All right. What then where do we go from here? Like what is your next plan of attack as you're looking at the rest of this list? Oh, I have one observation, and maybe you won't think this is right. I think Super Mario Run is a mainline Mario game.
Oh, interesting.
It is, you know, it is obviously on a different platform. It only uses one button to jump. There's really no exploration. But like, you know, the basis of the game is in the new Super Mario Brothers engine. It looks and sounds and feels an awful lot like that. Obviously, there are different gameplay elements to it, but like, is it just the same kind of different as like new Super Mario Brothers 2 is, or like, is it genuinely a spin-off?
So the reason why, and I don't feel like incredibly strongly about this, but the reason why I would say that it's a spin-off is because you don't have the freedom of movement that you do in a like normal Mario game. Um like yeah, it definitely has its roots in it, but it's uh like a spin, it's a different take on
Yeah.
those mechanics. And so I think it fits the definition of a spin-off, even if it is playing really closely in those same margins.
Okay. All right. I will withdraw my complaint.
I mean, but we can talk about Super Mario Run and like where it would fit in the pantheon of like best Mario spin-offs.
Well, I think this is one where we maybe won't find a ton of common ground, because I played the heck out of Super Mario Run when it came out 3 years ago, right? Like Christmas 3 years ago. Is that right?
Something like that, yeah.
2018, 17. Whenever it came out, like like I played so much of this game, and like when going to like travel wherever we were going, for Christmas, which I want to say maybe it was like Florida. Who cares?
I actually think it was 2016. I think this game came out in 2016.
Came up before before the Switch, because
Yeah.
Miyamoto went on Jimmy Fallon, right, to
Yeah.
like demo it, and then there was also like a little bit of like the Switch was behind a like in a box or something,
Yeah,
right?
but it was a big deal because it was
Yeah,
Nintendo's first mobile game,
that's
and
right.
like during the Wii U years, investors were like really pushing them to go mobile, and so it was a big deal. So yeah, it must have been 2016. It must have been before the
Yeah,
Switch.
that's got yeah that's wild. Anyway, on our trip for you know, visiting family over Christmas, I remember being like, I'm not gonna need my 3D, like I'm not gonna need another form of entertainment. I've got Mario Run. And both Sarah and I were playing it like obsessively. I really like that game. I think it feels really good to play. I think the sort of like hamster wheel of like doing the matchups against like kind of ghosts of randos is super fun. I think the levels, the like specific, not like randomly generated levels, are well designed and engaging, and the challenges are like genuinely challenging. I think it's a really good game.
Yeah, yeah. I You're not really gonna get that much pushback from me. I like Super Mario Run as well. I kind of wish we lived in a world where the launch of Super Mario Run had gone differently. Like either people were okay with paying the $10, Nintendo had found a better way to like um
Yeah.
introduce the price point, uh, because I feel like I would love to see what a Super Mario Run 2 looks like, or what like more content in the original Super Mario Run would have
Yeah.
been. Um, given like, the opportunity to iterate and like learn from that first game, it's kind of like disappointing to me that it ends up, at least so far, just being like a dead end where they tried it. It is what it is, but I don't know that we're ever going to see more Super Mario Run in the future. Because yeah, like you said, like it's kind of amazing how good that game is. And I think just like all the consternation around the price,
Yeah.
and obviously it not like performing as well as I think they were hoping it was going to perform, or at least, with the Switch taking off, they didn't feel the need to like revisit it. Um, is a little bit of a bummer because of Nintendo's like mobile entries, far and away like Super Mario Run
Yeah.
is the one that feels most like a Nintendo game.
Yeah, and is the I don't do a ton of mobile gaming or playing on mobile, but like that is the closest thing to an action game that I've been able to play on my iPhone. That it like feels like you need to be quick and responsive, and like it feels satisfying in the same way that doing Mario platforming feels satisfying.
Yeah, which is really remarkable, like because when you like you're saying you don't really have control over Mario. There is a single input, and the fact
Yeah.
that that feels like as good as it does and as much like Mario as it does is a real achievement. So I like Super Mario Run. I don't know really what we do at this point, if we like keep it up for consideration or if we're just like highlighting games we want to talk about and then like politely sunset them if we don't think they're going to make the top of the list.
Well, I mean, I feel like this does for me go in the like contender category.
Okay.
And so maybe that's just what we're doing now is that we are when there are like obvious chunks where we can be like this is the best of this bunch, or like let's explore this and like does it pass muster or not. So that's it's sort of a mix. I think this could be in the running for best uh Super Mario spinoff.
Well, speaking of kind of like remarkable achievements, let's talk about Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. A game that by
Absolutely.
all accounts like should not work. I feel like I should find the Rabbids exhausting. I feel like I should like the mashup between the two should not be something that I enjoyed, and yet I really loved that game.
Yeah, I also really love that game. The thing that makes me think it probably isn't in contention for the best Mario spinoff is it feels like imminently forgettable. Like when it is a fun game to play while you're playing it. But as soon as like it's done, they added all these like other things as DLC and like a whole like campaign to play with like Donkey Kong enemies and like a Donkey Kong Rabbid. And like I just can't bring myself to like go back to it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And maybe that's just part of it being like a strategy game, and when you spend time away from a strategy game you have to like relearn how the strategy works. And I don't like learning something once, I don't want to learn it twice. So I mean maybe that's just sort of an unfair space that it occupies in my head right now.
This is another one where I'm hopeful. It's been a little
Yeah.
over 3 years now since we had since the game was released, and it feels like one that's like ripe for having a sequel or a follow up, and we haven't gotten that yet. I'm hopeful that one exists. To me, the reason why I wouldn't put this up there as like in contention for the best Mario spinoff is it feels like more like a really great like Rabbids game, like a really surprisingly good Rabbids game that's elevated by that Nintendo DNA versus like a Mario game or something
Sure.
that's birthed from like the Mario franchise.
Well, let's look at it this way a second and see what changes. But you could conceivably say that this is another kind of Mario role playing game, right? Like a tactical role playing
Totally.
game is just another flavor of role playing game. So if we're taking then the four flavors of role playing game: Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi, and Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which do you think is the best of those four categories? and that this may come down to an individual, like, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is the best of any of these games, and therefore like Paper Mario takes it. But what do you what are you thinking there?
Yeah, I think as like a franchise or like its own like group of games, I think the Paper Mario games are the strongest, and I think that those are like the like if we're saying the best RPG spin-off, I think it's Paper
Yeah.
Mario. Um Super Mario RPG is a really fun and interesting game, but I just for whatever reason I just don't feel like it has
No,
the
go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. Just wail on me. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
I
Go ahead and tear it down. Tear it down, Mark.
I think it's a great game. I
Wow.
no, like I don't have anything against it, but for whatever reason, it doesn't feel um good enough. It's just
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It's just a good game, but it's not much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. It is certainly a game that shows its age, pretty clearly. It's got that Donkey Kong Country style, like pre-rendered background or pre-rendered everything, graphics that it can be tough to look at today. Um, so yeah, like I absolutely love Super Mario RPG, but I understand it not really being in contention here. And then for me, the Mario and Luigi games, just like absolutely not. They are kind of fun at best and tedious at worst. And just about all the entries in the Mario and Luigi games will be tedious at some point. So I think Paper Mario will kind of be our representative of RPGs on going into the final contention here.
Now, I have to admit something, and that is that I have never played a Mario versus Donkey Kong game, and I've like doubly never played the mini like spin-off version of it. And so like I it's almost for me it's um like by default it falls off the list.
I really like that first Mario versus Donkey Kong March of the Minis. Um, but I mean, they're also interesting in that they're basically just like Lemmings games, right? Like where
Mhm.
you're not in direct control of anyone. You're just sort of setting little wind up toys into motion to sort of solve puzzles, which is very fun. But it always feels like a very Lemmings like experience. I don't know why like that feels like such a less than sort of thing to me. But it just doesn't feel like a video game that I want to keep going back to all the time. So I am fine removing them from contention here. Mark, let's talk about Mario Party, because this is it feels like a pillar of Nintendo in that since they introduced it, they haven't stopped doing them, um, and they are sometimes kind of fun, but only ever kind of fun with a bunch of people around, where like you're probably gonna be having fun with those people anyway. Um, so like I don't know, I'm tempted to, even though they put out like a dozen of these games, just strike it off the list entirely and say Mario Party not in contention.
I feel like for me Mario Party why I'm fine taking Mario Party off the list is because unlike some of the other spin-offs like Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers where or even like a Luigi's Mansion, right? Where like that Mario DNA, that Nintendo DNA is like so important to it. With Mario Party, it's like it's a at best and not to denigrate it, but it's a fun party game that has a patina of like Mario like brushed on top of it. It could be
Yeah,
really like any characters. They don't necessarily like take place in the Mushroom Kingdom. Like it is just they don't take place in like any specific like Nintendo world. It's just kind of like, hey, here's like a cool party game, and then here, but it just happens to be that like Mario are the characters you're controlling, and Toad is maybe
yeah.
the host of it. Um, so I don't have anything against them, but there's no way they're the best.
Weirdly, I think almost the opposite is true too. That like the game is only fun because it is Mario. Like, not that the mini games and the board game have like no merit, but like part of what is happening is that like you're all hanging out together playing Mario, right? Like hearing the dumb sounds they make and being like, ah, Waluigi's weird. And like I don't know, it's funny how its Mario-ness is very important, but also like sort of disregardable at the same time.
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, I feel like in a weird way we're coming to the same conclusion, but from different angles. Where it's just like the Mario-ness of it is like not that important to
It's
the
like
game.
expendable, yeah.
Yeah, like because without it, it's just a party game, and
Yeah.
that's not good or bad, but it's definitely not the best Mario spinoff.
Okay. I think we are getting close to having a list of just real contenders. I guess while while we're on that topic, I've got Mario Pinball Land on here. I think a GBA Mario pinball game. This is a game I've never played, but I've always been intrigued by. Why are there so many handheld Nintendo pinball games?
Yeah, do you think that pinball games have gone out of fashion like the further we are away from arcades and the further we are away from like people just being familiar with pinball machines? I'm sure there are generations of people at this point who have never seen a pinball machine in real life. And
Yeah.
but like yeah, there are so many. I have fond memories of playing uh pinball games on handhelds like Pokemon Pinball,
Yeah.
Metroid Pinball. But at the same time, like they're definitely not my favorite games. They're like fun time wasters.
Yeah, and it always makes me just wish I was actually playing real pinball, which again is not something that like I crave on a regular basis. Like when there's a pinball table around, I like playing it. 2 years ago at San Diego Comic Con, there was like a room that was just full of pinball machines, and it ruled. I spent like an hour and a half in that room. It was great. But yeah, it's the sort of video gamification of pinball machines is never something that's super exciting to me. I would love to know if there's someone out there who really does like video pinball games and what your favorite ones are, and not the ones that are like simulating actual tables, but like these sort of weird Nintendo ones or like the original pinball on NES. Write into us, let us know. But okay, we are removing Mario Pinball Land. Mark, anything else on this list that you want to start taking down or examining more closely?
I've never played Super Princess Peach, which was the Nintendo DS platformer starring Princess Peach. So I think we have to say goodbye just because I have no experience with it. I mean, unless you
I
do, unless you want to talk about
mm,
it.
I do not. I'm in much the same boat. So long, Super Princess Peach. That feels bad. That feels bad to admit that neither of us have played Super Princess Peach. I feel like we need to. I feel like let's stop recording right now. Let's
May-
go out.
Maybe next April we'll do a Princess Peach month, and all month is just a celebrate. And why April? I don't know, but we'll just do
Yeah,
it.
I
It'll
know.
just be a celebration of
Mark,
Princess
it
Peach.
has come to my attention that you don't know what month it is. You thought it was August at the beginning. Now you think it's April.
What does it even matter? Like literally, what does it even matter?
These are great points.
WarioWare,
Yeah.
I think is in this list on a technicality because really it's a spin-off of like Wario Land, so it's like a spin-off of a spin-off, which is fine, but I love those games, but I think we can
fine-ish.
remove it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, WarioWare games absolutely wonderful. WarioWare Gold on the 3DS is a masterpiece of WarioWare micro gaming. There are so many different ways that they present those games to you, and yeah, it's so good and so fun. Um, but we are sadly removing it from this list. Okay, Mark, let's just we'll do a lay of the land right now, just so we can see where we are. The following are the candidates for best Mario spinoff of all time: Dr. Mario, Mario Kart, Paper Mario, Mario Paint, Super Mario Maker, Super Mario Run, Luigi's Mansion, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, the Yoshi franchise, Wario Land, and Super Smash Brothers. Let's talk about Super Mario Maker. This is another one where I think you can maybe make the argument that it is not a spin-off, that it is in fact a Super Mario Brothers game.
So this is another
The
one where I'm going to push
Yeah.
back and I'm going to say I don't agree. I agree that the second one has like a story mode that is very much just like, hey, like play some Mario levels. But I feel like the reason that game exists is so much more than that. Like the story mode is
Yeah.
just kind of like a nice side thing, but the reason it exists is like, hey, here's this like Mario playground. Now go kind of like build whatever you can.
It's interesting because it is also a little bit like a spin-off or a spiritual sequel to Mario Paint. Um, so I wonder if maybe what we need to do now is, and I mean, maybe you don't agree with that, but like, do we need to decide which of those two is better, Mario Paint or Super Mario Maker?
I think that's fine because whether they're in the same category or not, we're going to have to end up pitting games against each other anyways. So
Great
we
point.
might as well determine which of these two we think is the stronger like entry.
So Mario Paint is a game on the Super Nintendo, one of like 4 games for the platform that use the mouse that was available for the Super NES. It's a game that I absolutely loved, allowed you to draw to animate up to 9 frames, and had a music maker in it. Um, uh, I love it, but it is of such limited use now that like it would be kind of embarrassing to spend any time with it. So I think much as it hurts my heart to say like Mario Paint's got to go.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Mario Paint is like one of those like really cool ideas. And I remember spending time with it. We didn't own the mouse. And so my experience with it was like, this is really weird and I don't entirely understand what's going on. But we owned it and I put hours into it basically doing nothing. Um, but listening to the music, and it has great music. But I agree that Super Mario Maker is probably the one to make the list.
Mario Paint is also great in that it maintains the sort of like the chaos of like secrets in Mario. Like on the opening screen, you can trigger different effects by like clicking on different letters in the title Mario Paint. There is a mini game within it called Coffee Break where you play as a fly swatter swatting flies. Um, and like that gets really difficult and fun. So like it has this sort of like Easter egg quality to it where like you're just going to keep finding like other little fun things you can do. And its connection to Super Mario Maker, so many of like the sound effects and like sort of visual cues that you get in those creation tools come right from Mario Maker, right? There's like a little undo dog. There's a rocket which like clears everything that's from Mario Paint originally. So like, nothing but respect for Mario Paint, but it's got to get off this list.
What do you want to do about the Yoshi franchise?
What do we want to do about the Yoshi franchise? The Yoshi franchise is vast, right? There are a lot of Yoshi games. Um, and I would say that it is one of those Nintendo franchises that has this like the arc to it is one that is largely disappointing, like I'm probably more pro Yoshi than most people on video game podcasts. But like I enjoyed Crafted World a lot. Yoshi's Woolly World is one on the Wii U that I also really liked. But I don't think that they are. I think I want to like count it as a spin-off, but I don't think it's super great. I am gonna vote for eliminating it from this list.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
In the same breath, Wario Land. What are your
Um,
experiences with the Wario Land franchise?
I like all of them that I have played. Um, th- uh,
Which are those? I mean, because I know like my touchstone is Wario Land Shake It on the Wii,
yeah,
but I know you're not really a fan of that game. Um,
yeah, I didn't for whatever reason yeah, like the slower like platforming of the Wario series, which is much more about, and I maybe actually this is why I don't love the Yoshi games as well, where it's more about like exploration and it's not
mhm.
about like it's not course based. It's not like, hey, get from one end of this to the other using whatever crazy acrobatics you can. It's like, okay, like you're gonna have to kind of like take this slowly, figure it out.
Yeah.
The like just doesn't click for me for whatever reason. I love that Wario exists. It's like it feels like one of those just like happy accidents of history that Wario became a thing and is
Yeah.
now, like such a large presence in Nintendo's like pantheon of characters. And so mad respect for that, but the games itself I don't feel that strongly about.
Yeah, and I there's also just kind of a lot of them, like the early ones, Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land 2, and Wario Land 3, which are all like uh, Game Boy Color games, that like I don't know, are just like so slow and plotting and like on this tiny little screen, and Wario's this enormous sprite like hopping around, that like it just doesn't, especially like revisiting it now, just like doesn't really work. Mark, I had this thought while I was playing New Super Mario Brothers 2 this week, that first of all, we need to have New Super Mario Brothers All Stars. What where they just bundle the New Super Mario Brothers games. But also, I want to see a Wario Land All Stars.
That would be fun. I mean, it would just be fun to get some of those Wario Land games back onto a system that we can play it, including like the Virtual Boy one.
Including the Virtual Boy one. Mark, you took the words right out of my mouth. Unfortunately, Wario Land, we are saying a goodbye. That leaves us with the following. I'm going to go back up to the top. This will be another State of the Union list here. Dr. Mario, Mario Kart, Paper Mario, Super Mario Maker, Super Mario Run, Luigi's Mansion, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and Super Smash Brothers. I think we are finally to the place now where we have a good, respectable hard calls list. Mark, where would you like to go from here?
So I think we need to discuss Luigi's Mansion and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
Similar games, yes.
So Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, super cute.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think is like really makes the list of
Wow.
like best Mario spin-offs.
So you're saying that if pitting it against Luigi's Mansion, you go Luigi's Mansion over Captain Toad.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, so I think here is actually where we part ways. I've never finished a Luigi's Mansion game, but I have cleared the heck out of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. It is for me, like they both really rely on the like general charm of the world and specific charm of the lead character, to like get the whole thing across. I just find Captain Toad specifically, and Toadette to be more charming characters than the Luigi of Luigi's Mansion. Do I love that Luigi gets nervous and sings his own theme music to himself? I mean, maybe I'm talking myself out of it right now, but I do love that. Okay, I'll let it go. Toad Treasure Tracker is incredible and a great game, and I wish everyone could have played it on the Wii U because I do think that's where it's the strongest. Um, but as it exists on 3DS and Switch, still pretty good. But I'll let it go. Mark, if we had to just represent one game to be the Luigi's Mansion franchise, which game do you think that would be? Three, or the original?
Ooh, that's hard.
I
I
think it's three.
You think it's 3 just because it's the
I
most
do.
like
There's
would you say
more
it's
of
like the
it.
most like
Yeah.
refined version of
Yeah.
that? Yeah. I don't feel strongly about either one. I do think 3 is kind of like the like yeah, just like the most refined version of it. I like the first game as well. So yeah, 3 is fine with me.
Yeah, and I don't know if what we need to determine here is which game is the best Mario spinoff or which like franchise. I guess we didn't determine that. Uh,
Well,
which is
let's
it? One, two.
let's see how it shakes out cuz maybe it won't matter.
Right, right. We have 7 games and or franchises on the list right now. Um, Dr. Mario, Mario Kart, Paper Mario, Super Mario Maker, Super Mario Run, Luigi's Mansion, and Super Smash Brothers.
So I feel like we got to talk about what do we do about Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah, because they are foundational to the Nintendo lineup in a way that seems divorced from their Mario-ness. I know in a previous conversation, maybe even like this month, that we were talking about Super Smash Brothers being a Mario game. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say maybe we got use our get out of jail free card because yes, it features Mario, and yes, it is called Super Smash Brothers as a riff on Super Mario Brothers. But other than that, really, why would it be like considered a Mario spinoff?
Well, and let us not forget that we had a long conversation with our pal Matt Acevedo about what franchise contributes the most to Super Smash Brothers. And do you remember where we came down on
I
that,
think it
Mark?
was Kirby. Like, really, is
Yes.
Super Smash Brothers the best Kirby spinoff?
This is, yeah. I mean, I think let's blow that episode up right now and say yes. Super Smash Brothers is the best Kirby spinoff. It just edges out Kirby's Air Ride and the golf one. So Super Smash Brothers, obviously a great game, an important game. It is coming off this list.
It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Indisputable logic. So Mario Kart,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe just like runs away with it. I think Mario Kart as a series, as like a lasting impact, is like the Mario spin-off to beat. Again, maybe you could argue that it's just a kart game with Mario characters featured in it, but there's also a lot of characters who aren't Mario characters at this point. But
I mean,
it is called Mario
it feels
Kart.
like
It's not
Mario.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
It also just like it feels like Mario, right? Like the items are all Mario related. The courses are all,
Yeah, that's
you know,
true. That's true.
sometimes they're pure invention, and sometimes it's like, no, you've visited these locations,
Yeah.
in the games. I agree with you that it is the game to beat, which means right now I think we should take our remaining non-Mario Kart entrants, Dr. Mario, Paper Mario, Super Mario Maker, Super Mario Run, and Luigi's Mansion, and pit them against Mario Kart and see how each one of them fares. This will be single elimination. So let's just run through them now. Dr. Mario versus Mario Kart. Which is the better spinoff?
Oh, that's rough. I mean I think it has to be Mario Kart. I just don't
Yeah,
know if there's any getting around it.
I think that's right. Mario Kart well-being or Dr. Mario well-being wonderful is a little bit limited in what it actually has to offer. Mario Kart is almost endless. Now we go Mario Kart versus Paper Mario.
I
Is
think
this
it's
an easy knockout?
I think so. I think it's I think it's Mario Kart. And like I think we're taking Mario Kart for granted. Like we're not even really talking about why it's such a good game. But
Yeah,
like
it's true.
Mario Kart, I mean, uh there's a reason I don't even know how to talk about it. Mario Kart is just so good. Like Mario Kart
Yeah.
8 Deluxe is like so good. It's fun as a single player game. It's fun as a multiplayer game. It's fun to just sit down and pick up for like a little bit. Everybody can play it. Especially like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe makes it so approachable with like the different like auto driving options.
Yeah.
You can play it however you're comfortable, whether you want to use motion controls or not. I mean, like it's just kind of the perfect game.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. And also, like, there is like a cumulative effect to the Mario Kart series where, and you know, I've voiced this opinion before, and I know it's not like the be all end all opinion, but I believe that each entry in the Mario Kart series is better than the previous, with maybe the exception of uh, the GBA one. Um, that every time there's a new Mario Kart, it's just a better version of the previous Mario Kart, and that means that anyone that has played Mario Kart at any point in their life, and these are massively popular games on the Super NES, on the Nintendo 64, on the GameCube, on the DS, on the 3DS, that it makes sense for all of those people to just jump right in to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That there are even tracks from whatever game version of the game they were playing before that are in this. Those characters, like it. I don't know. 8 Deluxe in particular is such a good version of that game that it's like I can't think of like a better ambassador for a style of game.
It's also like I think you're right. I feel like the arc of the franchise in a way that like definitely we can't say this for all of the franchises is that the games just like even if there are dips in quality, like the overall arc over time is just like up and to
Yeah.
the right.
Up,
Like
up,
it's
up,
just
up.
continued
Yeah.
improvement. And it's interesting how like the series has been around for so long that even the things that were introduced as new in like the Wii version, like with motorcycles, now they're in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and you don't even really think about it. Like it's just part of the franchise. It's such like a cool like amalgamation. It's
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate is kind of this way as well, where it's a game that is like so awesome, but we take it a little bit for granted
Totally.
because it's like uh based on just like so many like iterations, and then it feels like it's coming to this culmination where more than ever before you're like, what comes after this? Like what even needs to come after this other than just like give me more tracks in Mario Kart 8
Yeah.
Deluxe, and like that's all I
Which I
want.
would take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I would say like two of the biggest question marks for me regarding the future of Nintendo are what would Mario Kart 9 and what does Smash 6 even look like?
Yeah.
But both of those series have basically achieved their perfect forms in their most recent iterations. Um, so to have a game that we are putting on such a pedestal as like the current entrant in that franchise makes it super hard to beat. And I'm just gonna go out there and say that Paper Mario doesn't do it.
The other thing I'll say about Mario Kart while we're seeing this
Yeah,
crazy is because we're talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, again, a great game, but it's like every game with the exception of maybe like one or two, like is really good. Like they're all
yeah,
like really good. And maybe going back to Mario Kart 64 is a little bit tough because, it's really primitive. But for its time, like Mario Kart 64 was amazing. Yeah, I feel like it's in a lot of ways kind of been the standard bearer for like kart racing franchises. Not to say that there aren't other great kart racers out there, but it is for sure like from day one been the one to beat.
yeah. I mean, whenever there is another one that like can hold a candle to Mario Kart, it's like a hushed tone, sort of like, wait, is this better than Mario Kart? Like people had to like ask the question, like look around and like, am I crazy? And usually it's like, well, okay, it's fun, but it's not as good as Mario Kart.
Yeah, I mean,
Mod Nation Racers, baby, I love that game.
and Hello Kitty Cruiser is right underneath.
Of course, of course. Nicktoons karting number 2.
Garfield Racing.
Okay, so I mean, do we just need to quickly look at Super Mario Maker, Super Mario Run, and Luigi's Mansion and just say, do any of these three have a shot
I mean, I
against
think
Mario Kart?
as you were saying them, I think the answer is no, no, and no.
Okay, so Mark, we are arriving at what is perhaps a super predictable conclusion. But I think we've done the work now, right? Like we've proven it. We've brought up all possible contenders, and Mario Kart is the best Mario spinoff.
Look, it's like geometry class where you like the answer was given to you in the problem,
Yeah.
but the important part was how you got there. And I think we really showed our work.
Well, and also like you don't you can have a which soda is the best soda contest, and like you have to Coke has to be one of the entrants, and then like what chance does anyone else have? Coke's there. All right, Mark. Let's close out our discussion of this. And this is one where I would definitely like to turn it over to our listeners because I am sure there will be some other opinions floating around out there. What do you think is the best Mario spinoff? Please write into us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Or you can tweet at us. Look, we know we arrived at an obvious conclusion. We don't need that kind of feedback. But if you've got a less obvious conclusion, that is the kind of feedback we would like. Mark, how you feeling? You feeling good?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I would love to know if there are games like that we missed that should have been up for contention. I feel like the Mario franchise is so big that I'm sure there are entries that we didn't think of that should have made our list but didn't. I don't know if they would have beaten Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but we should have at least accounted for them.
Yeah. Yes. So if we missed anything, also, do let us know. Also, if anyone thinks that that my assertion that maybe Super Mario Run is a mainline game. I would like either someone else to tell me no, or someone to agree with me. So right in. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you are sharing stuff these days. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nincart Society. There's also a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying we didn't even talk about Hotel Mario. And thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Michelle Varay.
And I'm Kimberly Trung, and we are the host of Crush Fictionally, a podcast all about your favorite fictional characters from movies, TV shows, and more.
Each episode, we pick a theme, curate a list of characters that we love, why we love them, and some fun facts about the people who created them.
So if you've ever felt a true connection with a fictional character,
tune in to Crush Fictionally on Campfire Media.
Or wherever you find your podcast.
Campfire.